Joined now by Gary Michuta from Hands-On Apologetics. He's got a book called Messiah, Old Testament Prophecies Fulfilled in Christ. Gary, good morning.
Morning, Matt.
So we're going to talk about Psalm 22 today, and a lot of people know the Messianic prophecy at the very beginning of this because Jesus from the cross says, my, why have you forsaken me?" And he's quoting directly the first line from Psalm 22. But there's a lot more about Messianic prophecy in this psalm, including bulls and lions and dogs, a full
Oh my.
menagerie. Yes, oh my. So what is going on here?
Yeah, and that's an important point, too, because people sometimes take Jesus' line as somehow the Father abandoning the Son at the cross or something like that, which is, absurd, really. He's quoting the psalm, which would be recited when people are suffering, but it's also a messianic song. And like you said, it describes the opposition that these enemies have against the king. And they're likened to various animals. And in fact, at the crescendo of this description, we have the words, "They pierced my hands and my feet," which, of course, for Christians makes perfect sense because Christ's hands and feet were pierced. But there's also a little bit of a controversy behind this line because in Jewish translations, they don't render it, "They pierced my hands and my feet," but they translate it like a lion. They're at my hands and my feet. And so the question for us is, well, what is it? Is it like a lion? They're at hands and feet, or is it that they pierced this suffering servant's hands and feet? And it's a very subtle thing in Hebrew because the word can be rendered either like a lion or pierced. They pierce, depending on like some very slight adjustments on that word. And so that really is the ultimate question. Now, there's a problem, though, because if the actual reading is like a lion, we have a problem because there's no verb. It just says, like a lion, my hands and my feet. Like, okay, so what is like a lion that's being done?
Yeah,
right?
We got the subject. Where's the predicate?
Exactly, yeah. So is the lion licking the hands and feet? Is it, what
Probably
exactly
not,
is going on?
knowing lions.
Right. So chances are it'd be like the lion is biting, which would be pierced, which essentially is the same thing, right? So in a way, it's almost a little bit of a tempest in a teapot. But there's actually a better way to solve this problem, and that is that this whole section here is what scholars call a chiasmus. And basically, it's kind of a poetic structure where things are mentioned in a certain order, and then it reaches its crescendo, and then the same things are mentioned in reverse order, right? And if you look at the different animals that are spoken of in Psalm 22, you have the bulls, the lions, the dogs, and then you have the line that it could be like a lion or they pierce my hands and feet, that says, deliver my soul from the sword, and then it has dogs, lions, and bulls. So bulls, lion, dogs, then you have the crescendo, then dogs, lion, bulls. And this actually helps us solve the mystery of like how we should render this, because if this is like a lion, it throws the whole symmetry off, right? Because you have bulls, lions, dogs, lions, bulls, which isn't very parallel at all, right? So it would make more sense that it would say bulls, lions, dogs, and then they pierce my hands and my feet, dogs, lion, bulls. Then you retain the symmetry. But also, curiously enough, Matt, there's also a symmetry here if you say they pierce my hands and my feet, because the parallel would be in verse 20, deliver my soul from the sword. So the sword
is for piercing, yes.
Yes, and the body is pierced. His hands and feet are pierced. So there's actually a parallelism that's preserved if they pierce my hands and my feet, but the whole symmetry of this passage is broken if it's like a lion, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah, of course. And, one of the things that's so cool about your book is that you've got, massive chunks of this book that are all about prophecies that the people of Israel clearly identified as pointing forward to the Messiah. But then you got all this other stuff that you don't really realize it's a messianic prophecy until it happens. And Psalm 22 is loaded at that stuff. With that stuff, I mean, as you continue to go through it, all who see me mock at me; they wag their heads. He committed his cause to the Lord; let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. This is what the bad thief says to Jesus, right?
Yeah,
or
right.
things like, "I am poured out like water." Right, my heart is like wax and melted within my breast. This is an image of what happens when Christ's side is pierced and water and blood flow out of his side, or even something as simple as they divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing. Well, that actually happened.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's truly amazing that like there are messianic prophecies like Psalm 22, where it almost paints this picture, right, of a suffering servant who is dying, is racked with pain. The hands and feet are pierced. The garments are being divided through casting lots. The king dies, and then ultimately, there's something like a resurrection at the end of Psalm 22, right? That God does rescue the afflicted king, and all the earth shall remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of the nations shall worship before him. So this mysterious king that suffers, dies, is pierced hands and feet, whose clothing was divided and cast lots. At his death, something's going to happen where all the nations are going to turn and worship the true God of Israel.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too,
amazing.
This is a device that happens all the time in Jewish poetry, and we actually echo it sometimes within the world of the Catholic Church. When I say the Our Father, I'm naming the prayer after the first couple lines. When I say the Hail Mary, I've named the prayer after the first couple lines. But we even see this throughout even just popular music. Like if I say to you, Gary, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, you might isolate that if you don't know what I'm talking about and be like, huh, tell me more about this bullfrog named Jeremiah. No, you actually, what your mind says is, he was a good friend of mine, right?
Right.
Or if I
Exactly.
say, hello, darkness, my old friend, you're going to be like, I've come to talk with you again, right? These are the things
Exactly.
that, echo through the most well-known prayers of the life of the people of Israel. If Jesus is saying these words from the cross, he's conjuring an entire story by invoking those lines.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, there's another feature, too, that I point out that Walter Kaiser, who is a Protestant biblical scholar, he notes that twice in the psalm there's mention of the king's mother, but the king's father is never mentioned, which is kind of curious, right? Why is the focus on the king's mother, not the father? And perhaps this kind of likens to, the first messianic prophecy in Genesis 3:15, where you have the woman and her seed that has this conflict with the serpent and his seed, right? So there's even a kind of, pointing towards perhaps the virgin birth.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, this is all just one psalm, and it's just one little section in Gary's book full of dozens and dozens of examples of passages from the Old Testament that point forward to the Christ. It's called Messiah, Old Testament Prophecies Fulfilled in Christ, and it's linked at sunrisemorningshow.com. Head on over to Gary's site as well, Hands-On Apologetics. Thanks so much, Gary. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too, Matt.